Welcome to DasGeek. I cannot believe I invited him back. What is wrong with me? I'm like a glutton for punishment. Or you're just a really cool dude. It's Darkone778 in the house. What's up, man?
What's going on? I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, you are the Mensa user here, so there shouldn't be anything wrong with you.
i3 Prodigy. Mensa user is the old thing, man. Now it's just i3 Prodigy. You know.
My bad. I forgot.
But guess what I've been playing with this week?
Probably an Ubuntu distro.
That seems to be the thing, right? No, I've been playing with OpenBox, so the i3 user has been, well, because you can implement OpenBox really easily into KDE Plasma. So I'm on Kubuntu,
Nice.
and I saw the website for integrating OpenBox and KDE together, and it's really freaking cool because you get all the benefits of a window manager. I mean, OpenBox is not as much of a keyboard window manager as like i3 and stuff. It's more mouse oriented, although you can make it do all the things the other ones do, and that's what I've been doing. And I even uploaded my config file so other people want to play with it can do that. But that's not why we're here.
No,
we are here to talk about alternatives to making the transition to Linux easier. So for anybody who has been interested in Linux for a long time, I thought this would be really cool. I'm a newer Linux user. I've only been in Linux for 2 years. How long have you been using Linux?
Let's not discuss that.
Okay, long time. 40, 50 years, something like that.
1999.
So what we've been doing is thinking about, when we transitioned into Linux, what were some of the programs that really helped make that transition happen? Now, things have changed a lot in Linux. And the fact is, you're going to be looking at this list that we put together and go, I can do that in Windows. I can use that program in Mac. I can use that program in Linux. And that's kind of the thing that's changed. All these programs, as Linux has gained in popularity, are now available for Linux. So while these are the picks that helped me transition about 2 years ago, a lot of these programs you can use on multiple platforms. But these are the programs when you go full Linux, like I have. These are the programs I have listed out are some of the first programs that I installed. All of them are part of my install script that I have out on GitHub. And they're kind of the core programs that I ended up replacing other Windows programs I was using with these and fell in love with them. So we're going to go through your list first, and then we'll get to mine. We have some similarities and a lot of differences, actually, too. So it'll make it kind of interesting. So what's your first pick?
My first pick is actually two picks in one. It's actually two video editors.
You're cheating.
I am cheating, but I am also doing this, as you said. Let me make something clear to people first. Is I'm doing this as a work flow type of way. Like, this is how someone where the underlying OS is not going to matter. This is how people, to me, transition better to Linux when their just stuff is available.
Yep.
They don't need to know it's Windows or Mac or Linux or whatever. They don't care. They just want their stuff to work. That, for me, was the way that I was able to transition to Linux. And that is a successful way I have found to help people make that transition. Because if you just simply tell someone, like Firefox, they're not going to know the difference between Firefox and IE, or Edge or whatever browser.
Right.
So my first pick is Kdenlive and Lightworks. Now, some of these are going to be proprietary applications, so FOSS-only people comment below. I chose Kdenlive because it is like the premier.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it, but it doesn't. To me, it is somewhere between. It is a better version of Adobe Premiere Elements.
Right.
So it is a very good, to me, it's a very good like prosumer level, that mid-range type. If you're looking for hardcore, full feature stuff, I'd buy Lightworks personally.
Interesting. So let's stay on Kdenlive for just a second, because this is one that was also one of my picks. And Kdenlive is one of the programs that really I attribute to my being able to switch to Linux, because I was a big Adobe Premiere when I first started my channel. That was my big goal with all this stuff, was to get the YouTube channel up and going. And I didn't start in Linux. I was doing audio stuff and security stuff and all that. And then I did the 30 Days of Linux challenge, and this was one of the programs that made me stay with Linux. Had it not existed, some of the other programs that do video editing and things, now I didn't try Lightworks, but some of the other ones people were recommending would crash and have issues and stuff, and it was kind of frustrating. But once I came on to Kdenlive, I was able to edit faster than Adobe Premiere. I was able to put more effects in easier. It was a seamless transition, which I think was really key, meaning I didn't have to go in and spend 6 hours learning Kdenlive. I used Adobe Premiere. I booted up Kdenlive. I'm like, okay, scissors, cut, obviously. Add in add in transitions, add in effects is all in the menu, and they all make sense and are labeled correctly. Everything is so simple. This, to me, is one of the most important projects for me personally, because I don't know that I would have stayed with Linux had this not been there very early on as I was trying to find alternatives in Linux 2 years ago.
I completely agree. And that is why is first, like, to me, especially to you, any of us who do video production of any type, this is going to be video editors are the thing that matter. And as much as I love like the look and the simplicity of like OpenShot, it crashes too much.
Yep. That was the one I was thinking of, by the way.
There's other ones that are out there. You have one like Lives, or you have like Cinelira, or you have all these other programs. Some are better than others, etc. But to me, the best, and the fact that Kdenlive is, I believe, available on Windows now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you can get it on Windows, although they make it difficult, which I love. Like, you have to like go and compile it or something from a zip file. Like, I just love it. I'm like, yeah, make it more difficult for them, because they certainly do that with their applications for Linux users at times. But
they do.
It's much easier to install. But Lightworks was another choice you had. I was not surprised by it. I've heard a lot of people like Lightworks. A couple times I had tried it early on in my Linux career, and I know they've done a lot of work on their interface, I hear, lately, but during the times I was using it, that work hadn't been done, and it was like, it just wasn't familiar.
It was basically, the paradigm was a desktop within a desktop. So like you had a canvas on top of your desktop, and that canvas was what you actually worked on. So like the so like, how you can move different panes around and stuff in like Premiere and stuff, and
right,
kind of set up the workflow how you want. That was kind of the mentality, but it was done in a very convoluted way. So it'd be like you're on your Linux desktop, but then you're also in the application, you have another desktop. Weird. But since they've redone the UI, I think it is a lot better. It does have a few caveats as far as its free versions and stuff. Like I said, but you're looking at it right now. There's a Boris FX set right there. Those are some of the best effects in the industry that you can get. And legitly, honestly, what is it? $500, give or take.
For an outright,
that is not bad for an outright purchase of a pro level, industry level editor.
Right. I think that's cheap. The big key between Kdenlive. Although you can do professional editing in Kdenlive, most professional editors are going to use something like a Lightworks, which is for Windows, Mac, and Linux, of course. If you're a professional and you're making money off of this stuff, then you may go for something like a Lightworks. DaVinci is another one, DaVinci Resolve, that unfortunately the installer is so horrid that even today I refuse to attempt it. Getting it installed,
and
is
you
like,
better be running CentOS.
Yeah, it pretty much. That's
you better
what
be
they
running
tell you.
CentOS.
You've got to have CentOS, and it's just a major pain. So, but Kdenlive is absolutely free. You pay nothing for it. Although I do recommend people contribute. If you do things like YouTube and you are making some money off of any of these products, you should consider contributing to them. Shouldn't consider, you should just contribute to them, because a lot of people put a lot of work into it. In this case, with Lightworks, this is commercial software, so you're not going to contribute. You're going to have to buy it, but you can do a free version of this. Is that correct? Limited free version. I think
there is a free version. It's limited to 720p. The codec support is not there, and you don't get the Boris effects and all that kind of stuff. It's more minimal. It'd be more in, I don't want to say in the area of Kdenlive, but in that prosumer end of things.
Right.
Like I said, personally, I'd just buy, if you're looking for something higher, for me, I would definitely recommend Lightworks.
Nice. So next on your list was the word processor. This is going to be a big one for a lot of people transitioning to Linux, right? Because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to use Word for work. I have to use Excel for work. I have to use these programs. They're what I know. And you chose one that was a little bit off the beaten path. Not that it's not familiar, but most people are on the opposite side with another package, which is on my list. But what do you got here for us?
I went with WPS Office. Now, for all the love and hate that people have with the Windows Microsoft Office design paradigm since about 2007, sorry guys, get over it. It changed. This is the closest you will find to a better compatibility and Windows-esque look to help ease people into the OS, because all they're going to see is, writer or, whatever thing they're looking for.
Right.
They're not going to care about anything else.
I agree. If you're trying to mimic documents or open documents from work, you don't have time to deal with compatibility issues, right? You can't send a file to your boss and it's all got hieroglyphics all over it because you're using some strange program and you're like, oh, but I'm a Linux user. Well, that's not going to help sell it. So compatibility here is definitely an important thing.
Yeah, I was going to say compatibility is the biggest thing, which sometimes the biggest thing when it comes to LibreOffice, which I know is on your list.
Yep.
The compatibility issue is the lack of fonts.
Mm-hmm.
Like certain fonts aren't installed that you choose to use, etc. But on the same note, I love LibreOffice. It's just the UI is 2003.
Yeah. The UI is old, but it's familiar. That's another thing. And this UI, by the way, is familiar too, meaning you can actually use the same formulas in spreadsheet, I think they call it in LibreOffice, that you can use in Excel. So, from formula-wise all the way through to, your basic, setting up borders and text and all of that, it's very easy to transition between. At work, I use, Microsoft Office, and at home, I utilize LibreOffice. And the transition is very easy because they're just, similar enough that I'm not sitting there like, oh gosh, where is that button again? But WPS, I've not considered, I've not downloaded or played with it for long, although I've heard of it, generally because I have a free Office 365 license, which I do want to mention, because if you're transitioning and you cannot take the risk of anything, like you have a very high profile position and things, in some cases I have documents I just can't take a risk period with, you can use Office 365 in Linux. You can have all your Office documents you're familiar with, although even though I have that, 90% of the time I'm using LibreOffice. So, because most of the stuff I'm doing is not critical, but when it comes to something I'm sending to a boss or an executive or whatever, then I will go to Office 365 just because it's safe and free for me. But so that is an option. If you're coming to Linux, you can still use Office on the cloud if you want, but WPS Office, I have heard many people say, has a much better translation overall in the documents for your files, although I've not run into many issues with LibreOffice either. So, two good choices. How much is the license for this?
I honestly do not know. I have not.
Do you just use the free version?
I use the Linux on the Linux, and the version's free.
Okay.
It's currently a alpha beta-ish type product.
Okay.
But I haven't had any issues. Generically, I use the Android version for like on the go stuff, and I haven't had any issues bouncing back and forth. The Windows version, same deal.
What's really cool about this is they've got a WPS cloud coming out. So, everybody's addicted, unfortunately, to Google Drive a little bit. Yep. And I think we all would love to move away from the Google. being so much into Google, meaning when between YouTube and everything else, it's just you're Google everywhere. So the fact that they're looking at a 1 gigabyte of free space cloud service is pretty cool.
So,
all right, so what's
anyway.
next here on your list?
Well, technically, it would be actually not the thing that you have brought up, but the thing that you're using to show everything.
That's right here, Firefox.
It is Firefox. I didn't choose Chrome because, well, you know, like you said, a little too much Google in the life. Firefox is just, it's like Chrome almost. It has enough recognition from people who remember having to use IE. Yep. They remember it as the alternative. And let's be honest, a lot of these CTOs, CFOs, and a lot of these, you know, if you're in business, a lot of people aren't going to, some are going to be wary of Google, you know, oh, it's all cloud and yada, you know, whatever.
Right.
You tell them Firefox and they'll know, oh, it's that alternative to IE or whatever version of, you know, browser Microsoft is on. That has weight to it still, even though it might not have the market share it used to. It's not always market share. And I love me some Firefox ever since they started to work with a lot of the Quantum stuff. And
Quantum made Firefox kind of a competitive again, where honestly it was at a point where I had gone back to using, actually I was using Vivaldi, which is basically a Chrome variant and Chromium variant, and I use Chromium sometimes as well, because I just couldn't. Firefox was just not keeping up. You know, you would have constant issues with certain, you know, websites you couldn't log into. They were slower. Videos wouldn't load correctly. All this stuff. Then Quantum came around and really changed all of that. There were a couple of things with Quantum specifically I really loved in Firefox, or it wasn't Quantum that this happened, but very shortly before Quantum release was also all of the support for the video codecs. So things like Twitch and, you know, Amazon and Netflix and all of that, being able to support those out of the box without having to install extensions was a major deal for me, because I'm one of those people who watch videos on my computer, and a lot of people are that way. And before Firefox, you had to go and install all these extensions to get those things to work correctly. You know, you had to go find these different plugins and all that stuff. And nowadays, you just install Firefox. You can go to Netflix. It may tell you, if you ask you because of privacy, if you want to enable DRM content, but that's the extent of it, and you're off and running.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you know, having to go like if you're on your Windows system, you know, go download Silverlight.
Yeah, exactly. That was not fun at all, but Firefox has come a long way. It has been what I've been using for months now, well, since Quantum released, and I use it on all my systems. And the only time I go into any other browser is if I want a browser that has nothing signed in, you know, just for videos or whatever that I'm doing. But otherwise, it's all Firefox all the time. Besides Firefox, though, you've got another one here people have been staring at.
I do. Darktable. Y'all want some photography stuff, and you know, you like messing around with your pictures and changing your bokehs and everything. You know, there's so much. This is the Lightroom and a very well done open source application. I actually contribute as far as financially to this because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is very well done. It is very professional. It is very powerful. It is everything that you want in an open source application. This is where kind of like Kdenlive is. It is that very high-end consumer, almost pro, but it's missing a few little things here and there, you know, feature set. And to me, honestly, this does actually compare very well to Lightroom. And the nice thing is, this is a locally installed application.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those, you made a really good point about, you know, being open source, but it doesn't feel like it's open source at all. This is one of those programs, when you were saying that, you know, it's open source done right, this is one of those programs that they could easily go out tomorrow and charge 150 plus for, and people would use it all day long because it's that good. It's that powerful. It's that reliable of a tool.
It is. I'll go one further. There's actually a commercial application that Corel makes. It is called Aftershock Pro, I believe.
Yeah.
Aftershock Pro 3 there's a Linux variant for it. Great application. I would pick Darktable over that.
Yeah, see, I'm not into, unfortunately, doing much with my photos, which is a shame. But if I was, this is what I would use. I just don't mess with my photos. I'm like, well, however they came out of the camera is how I'm going to accept them. But one of the big things for here that photographers who are professional is the ability to handle raw images from your camera. And this is able to handle that very easily and uses GPU acceleration and all of those things to make it so that you're utilizing the full power of your computer and able to use those macros on multiple photos at a time and things that you've set up. So it's an extraordinarily powerful tool. Darktable is definitely a big winner. And I think so a Linux converter, somebody who's converting to Linux who is into photography, will find a very comfortable home here with this tool for sure.
Hands down.
Audacity, man. Oh my gosh. This program is such a beast. It is so good.
I'll let you go into this one. This is more up your area. So,
well, I mean, when you're doing podcasts or even video production for that matter, there are so many instances where I'll record a video and there's an audio issue that happens. And the only way to fix it is exporting the audio into something like Audacity, which has true professional capabilities and power to be able to edit the audio and, you know, remove white noise or remove background noise or do those type of things. Additionally, in a podcast environment, it's nearly, inescapable to need a tool this powerful with this many features and things with multiple channel recordings, multiple outputs that you can export to. Obviously, you know, being able to edit things very easily. And this is a perfect example of a program that you can boot up and instantly you're familiar with it, the way it's laid out. You can start cutting audio. You know, you highlight a portion of audio and you click your delete button, that portion of audio disappears. Like, it's just so simple, but yet there's so much more within it that you can do that makes it such a powerful tool.
Dude, you just passed right by it. The plugins. Oh my! Like, if you actually install all those plugins, you will have so many effects and correction tools that you will actually seriously have no idea what to do with them.
Yep.
It is absurd the amount of stuff you can do with Audacity. I do want to give another one a plug, though. It is Ocean Audio. If you are looking for like a more singular track focus type of podcast, like editor. I'm not sure if that's open source or not, but I know there's a Linux variant available, so that it is worth looking into.
Nice. So. All right. Next up on your list is Guake terminal.
It's a drop-down terminal. Who doesn't like a little, Quake-looking terminal in their, sorry.
So explain drop-down terminal, since a lot of the people who will be listening to this are brand new. They're scared to death of the terminal. The terminal makes everybody quake until they start using it, and then it becomes your best friend. But at first, you're like, I want to look for something to do the same thing, but in a GUI only, because I don't want to touch that thing that looks like just text. So, but eventually they'll have to use it.
Well, here's this great thing. You don't actually have to open this per se. You hit most of them. You hit F12, and it just pops down. Hit F12 again, pops back up. It is like any application that you would type into, and that is what I think personally makes it a little bit different than like my preferred terminal emulator is Terminator. I love Terminator. Who doesn't like the tiling aspect of it, man? That's what I love about it. But you don't need that. Yeah. A user does not need that. A drop-down terminal to me is great for when you are trying to fix stuff or something isn't quite working right, or you need to just do like a quick sudo app update or something, just small stupid thing where you don't always want to have to open like the full terminal, and you
Right.
hit the key and it goes. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes,
This is really for ease and accessibility, this type of terminal. Obviously, you can use the standard terminal. It comes with whatever distro you install, and the same commands work. And if you're new, you're probably just pasting whatever command you read online anyways into your terminal.
which FYI, do not do.
You can tell them that all they want, but we all did it, at some point.
That is besides the point.
I don't know what this does, but he says it will fix it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops. I just saw RM-RF.
So Guake is a great drop-down terminal. I wasn't familiar with this one. This is very cool and something I will definitely take a look at. Look, you put this on the list, and I was like ashamed that it wasn't on mine when I saw it on yours. I was like, why didn't I think of OBS?
And you use this more than I do.
Probably. I mean, this is another one that I think, had it not been on Linux, this would have been a killer back in the day for being able to stay on Linux, because I would have had to transition, because, simple screen recorder is great for simple things, but you're not going to be able to make live Twitch videos and stream with simple screen recorder. So this allows you to interface with everything from, I've done Nintendo Switches through Linux, PS4s I've streamed through Linux, all of those different consoles I have interfaced with utilizing OBS and done live streams with in the past. It is the go-to whether you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and you plan on doing any type of live recordings, but you can also use it for local recordings, which a lot of people do as well.
Actually, that's what I use when I do my local recordings.
Yep. And it's just such a good tool.
I find that it just, once you get it set up, it is literally turn on the application and go.
Yeah. Now, my only issue with this program is this right here. You see this section? I hate this section, because start recording should not be anywhere near start streaming. And I'm scared to death that one day I'm going to be like doing a video and I'll be like, oh, I'm going, blah. I'm like, oh crap, blah, blah, because, sometimes I let the colorful words fly. And then I'm like, oh, I'm live. Hi, everyone. Because I accidentally clicked start streaming. I do not like that. I wish they would make this like a button you have to click like 3 times or something to engage it. I don't know.
Not even that. I think if they took the studio mode button and put it in between the two.
Yeah. Yep. That's my only complaint about OBS, is they need to move that. Now, if you're on, what is the program that a lot of people use? I'm trying to think of it. XSplit. That's what it's called in Windows. And when I was on Windows still doing videos, I utilized XSplit a lot, and I liked XSplit, but most of your mainstream, even professional casters that have tens of thousands of views, utilize OBS. I wish XSplit would come to Linux, but until they do, they're dead to me. So there's that.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, I remember the days of trying to screencast and record. Oh, those were bad days.
Bad memories.
GTK record my desktop.
Ooh.
First application ever.
Never used it, so I can't jump on the bandwagon, but I'll take your word for it. I'm glad we have OBS nowadays. I love that you had this on your list, because talk about one of the most versatile, powerful applications probably that I've ever put my hands on when you think about all the different things it can do. Because, by the way, most of the programs we talked about, you can do those things in Blender. You can video edit in Blender. You can create games in Blender. It's got a game engine built into it. You can do 3D graphics and intros and outros and art design and all of those things all within Blender. But prepare yourself for the learning curve.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say the learning curve is off-putting. But if you want to get into 3D modeling, if you are looking like for the low, like if being price conscious is a thing and a necessity, but this is something you're interested in, Blender gives you the lowest common denominator to get into a lot of different aspects of stuff. This can be your After Effects if you want to on Linux. It's going to take a lot more work, and it's a lot different workflow. I will be the first to tell you that.
Yeah.
But, if you want to do video editing, as you can see, you can do scripting, game engines. I can't remember what they used to use Python. I don't know if that's still what they use for the game engine anymore. But
yeah, last I heard that was kind of what it was too, was some type of Python variant.
But that to me, and the versatility of this program, it makes it bar none one of the best. Like Linux and Unix philosophy is do one thing and do it well. This is one application that does a lot of things well once you learn the UI.
Yeah. Now, this is one that I just, instead of just trying to go and learn this is one where I suggest get a book and then watch YouTube videos on top of it. And between those two things, read the book first, then do the YouTube videos, because people in YouTube who've used it for a while, they forget how difficult some of the things that they're showing you are. But if you combine those two, you'll get it. My brother uses this as a game creator, obviously, quite a lot, and absolutely loves it. And I've done video editing and things in it. It's not quite as good, in my opinion, as Kdenlive and stuff. With that said, if you learn the shortcut keys, it's kind of like a Windows manager. You can be really fast video editing in Blender, and you could do a lot of cool things. Blender is one of the greatest programs, and I love that it's on Linux out there. This was new to me, man. I didn't know anything about Lollipop, and I was shocked that the dark one would have a program on his computer called Lollipop.
I like me some good visual design. Lord be known. For as much flack as I'll give any desktop and particularly Lollipop, which is GTK app at that. If you just look at it in any of these screenshots, that is what I love about it right there. Like, it visually makes me want to intrigue to look at it.
Yep.
And to give anybody an idea of what my music collection looks like, about half of the space on my Surface Pro is nothing but music.
Whoa, you use a Surface Pro on Linux?
I'm doing it. I'm doing this whole thing on a Surface Pro.
You're on Windows right now?
No, I'm on Linux. On a Microsoft product.
You're kind of shoving it in their face, like, "Hi, I like your hardware, Microsoft, but your operating system I shall replace."
Especially when it was Windows 8. So, to me, just the visual design of this looks very, very nice. I can't. It's just one of those things where you just see an application, you're like, "Ooh, that's really, really nice." It's kind of like, it reminds me almost of if any elementary OS users watch this, chicken. They have a similar program called Vocal, which is Gpotter, but actually, and that to me, like, aesthetics do matter to a point, and to me, this has the right amount of aesthetics. Yes, it's FOSS and all the other stuff that goes with it, which is great. It's actually really good at finding metadata if you are missing stuff too, which is pretty cool.
Nice. That metadata piece is huge for me. Like, if I move my music over and there's no album art, there's nothing, that's a pain in the butt. And then I love that they have the incorporation of a lot of web services. I don't know if they have Pandora in there yet, which is my service that I use, but they've got Spotify, which I think is what most
do know. If my understanding of how I only use Spotify free, so I can't speak for this, but my understanding is, as far as the music streaming from Spotify, is pro account only.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, it looks like a cool app out there, and it's definitely one that when I saw it on your list, I wasn't familiar with it, but after I saw it, I'm like, I'm gonna go install that and play with it.
And for the KDE guys, there's the Elisa one, and I think the other one was called Babe. So those are two.
Lollipop and Babe, huh?
So,
all right. Well, this one was on your list, but this is a no-brainer. But funny enough, I have seen a lot of people in Linux that are interested in Linux or have heard about Linux not realize that Steam is available for Linux.
Oh, Steam is very available for Linux. My lovely little Linux machine here would tell me otherwise, because I have Linux installed on it, and with Steam. And yes, you can play commercial available video games on Linux.
Yeah, I mean, when Steam, obviously Steam hit Linux before I joined Linux, but this would be another one that would have been a deal killer had it not been, or I would have had to have been forced to dual boot, which I rarely ever go back into Windows anymore nowadays. But back in the day, if Steam wasn't there, you pretty much would have been forced to kind of boot into Windows. Now you don't have to. You got a ton of AAA games out there. I mean, 87 pages of top sellers that are within the Linux only piece. What's being played the most? Dota 2, of course, right? Counter-Strike, Payday, F1, Team Fortress, Rocket League, Ark, Civilization, all of these awesome, fantastic games, 144 pages and just what's being played. So, there's more games we would love to see come to Linux, so I don't want to make it out like you're going to get every AAA title on Linux, but most AAA titles come to Linux eventually. And some of them a lot of companies now are starting off releasing their games, AAA games with Linux support. But even more so, I don't know about you, but I've kind of gotten off the AAA game bandwagon, and I'm more into the independent, and most independents support all the platforms.
I am all over the map with my games. For those that watch the music video or the music soundtrack one, that is the type of gaming I do. I am all over the map. No, but I agree. So to anybody who says there are no games available on Linux, broaden your horizons. I don't go to a console because the whole experience of SteamOS is supposed to be console-like. You don't go to a console expecting 4,000 games to be available at purchase at launch, do you?
No.
So don't go into Linux expecting that. Now you can go into and install Linux and install Steam, throw on SteamOS, and hey, look, you have 4,000 games to your console collection now.
Yeah,
that are available at the tips of your fingers.
Yep. It's amazing how much gaming on Linux has changed just in a little bit. And also, Steam's a huge supporter of Linux. They want to push Linux heavily. They have a new card game kind of to compete with.
Artifact.
Yeah, Artifact is the name of it, to compete with some of the other popular card collecting battle strategy games out there. So I have no doubt, because every game that they release, Valve, comes on Linux, that we'll have that one as well, probably on release date. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of games. There's a lot of independents as well, but there's a lot of AAA games in here that you can look through and play. Krita, man, oh my gosh, do I love this program. It is so good.
People will ask me why I chose this over, say, GIMP. I believe, honestly, I appreciate the work the guys over the GIMP project do. And as much as I hate that name, sorry,
It is the worst name in history. Yeah, I agree.
Go to the wrong country and say that to somebody and see how well that goes over with you.
Use a GIMP.
You might be one after they get done with you, but Krita does what GIMP tries to do. It is not going to be as good at photo manipulation.
Right.
It is plausible. It is, you can perfectly use it for that. But this is image creation. Like if you are looking to create things, this is what you want to use.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the stuff you're throwing up. That is all created with Krita. That to me is crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
You might be able to do this stuff again, but it doesn't even compare to me.
Yeah, user interface here is, a lot of these very advanced programs that you can obviously do professional things with end up layering so many things within their GUI interface that a new user looks at it and goes, nope. Whereas Krita, actually, you go into Krita, you launch it, and anybody could use it. Like I could teach my 5-year-old to start painting in Krita. That's how easy the user interface is. Now, within that, there is a ton of advanced features, but they're not hidden, but they're purposefully put not as the first screen that you see when you first log in and install Krita. You get the nice simple interface, and then you can expand that as a professional to add in all those other tools that you want to utilize. And that, to me, is what makes Krita so effective. Now, I love GIMP. I use GIMP more probably than I use Krita because I'm not artistic anyways. So I'm doing mostly manipulations of, banners and art, little things like that. And to me, I've just
layers and stuff like that.
Yeah, layers and things. And I've used GIMP when I was even in Windows, so I'm more familiar with it. But GIMP is not as intuitive, user-friendly as Krita is. And additionally, this is a fantastic product if you have a tablet that you draw on. So if you're somebody who draws on a tablet, or in your case, having a Surface, if you have the pen with that, you can utilize Krita within, or Surface within Krita, utilize Krita on the Surface to start drawing pictures and coloring in and all that stuff if you have touch screens. So very cool tool. All right, so now we've made it to my section here. This is the very first program I install. Anytime I have installed a distribution, this is the very first thing I install. Simplenote to me is a life-saving application. It's where I keep all of my notes on everything that I do within any distro. All of my hints, tips, tricks, files, all of that goes into Simplenote. It is just super easy to get installed anywhere, whether it's on your phone, iPhone, Android, doesn't matter, any OS. The app is fantastic. It's never failed me once. And, I can get to my notes quickly and go, okay, I'm doing a GNOME install. So I'm going to go to my Simplenote GNOME section. I got all my tips and tricks for when I used it last. And so I can quickly start, utilizing those commands and things like that. And also this allows me to take notes while I'm starting a new, like if I'm trying a different distro or whatever, I instantly have a note-taking application that's in the cloud. So if something crashes or whatever, my notes are still there because it's all synced to the cloud. Love Simplenote. Fantastic program.
I was going to say, nothing. Simplenote is basically everything you just explained. Having that automatic backup, having that ability to pull down what you need when you need it, and not be Google. There is that huge plus there too.
Yep. And you get a native kind of application, even though it's synced to the cloud. You've got an application that you can just install right down. Now, Evernote has come to Linux, as I understand it, or they have like maybe a third-party person who wrote an app that interfaces with Evernote. I don't know which one it is, but either way, you can use Evernote too if you're more familiar with that. Of course, if you use OneNote, which is what I used before I transitioned to Linux, but I prefer Simplenote over OneNote. You could still use OneNote in Office 365. So if you're very concerned with that and you're stuck with OneNote, make it a slow transition. Start moving your notes little by little over to Simplenote. The other thing I'll tell you that's really cool is this is hypertext. So as you start writing, you also start learning a little bit about HTML because hypertext is kind of based on that. And you can actually take your notes and turn them into a web page just by exporting it. So that's a really cool feature too. So you learn some coding while you're doing it. By the way, you don't have to know code to use it at all, but you could add code into the elements, the hypertext code, to create things like bolded text and that type of stuff that you could utilize in a web page. So multiple awesome features within Simplenote, one of my favorite tools in the world. Thunderbird. I know what you're going to say. Outdated interface, right?
No, actually, I wasn't going to say that. Thunderbird gets a lot of hate for the interface, but it's an email client.
This is everything right here. Easier to get started. I can pull up all these beautiful email clients out there all day long, but this wizard here that they have is so intuitive. It's so well written. Finds all of the automatic information of the servers, if you're using Gmail or any of the mainstream ones immediately. If it's not mainstream, the questions that it asks, the way it asks them is all intuitive and makes sense. The error message it gives you if you typed in the wrong password or the wrong server settings all make sense and are intuitive. It just works, man. That's it.
It does. I can still see why it's a default application for many, many, many Linux distributions. I'm sorry, evolution is not good. Geary, Elementary is doing stuff with that one, so I don't know. I haven't really paid much attention to that, but to me, there is really no other option.
Yeah.
I'll be blunt.
I just need to, and if you're coming from Outlook or something like that, if you're coming from Windows, then you're going to feel very familiar in Thunderbird. It's a Mozilla product, so the same maker of Firefox, the company creates Thunderbird, and it's just very familiar, easy to use. You're going to have your emails feeding in immediately. It's very easy to back up and export your files. So if you move distros or anything else, or you need to have backups because you're very important, it's very secure. It's easy to customize. You can make it look the way you want. You can tweak it and make it look more modern and things like that. And hopefully Mozilla gets around to putting some more features into this tool, because it is probably the best out there right now. There are other great ones that look better, but the only one I can rely on 100% without fault, without ever having an issue, has been Thunderbird.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the other new bee's knees one? Was it Mailspring, I think?
Yeah, that one's really cool looking, and I liked Mailspring. But again, just being honest, I just feel like trust-wise and always going to work, it's still Thunderbird for me.
And completely get it.
Yep.
There's a part of me that wants to say email is outdated, but for what it is and for what Thunderbird is meant for, it fits that Unix has one function. It does it really well. Might not be the prettiest, but it does it really well.
Right. The next one on my list is Shotwell, and I think a lot of people coming over, who may not be intimately involved with their operating system are going to want a photo manager right off the bat, right? That's something they do. They got pictures of kids, family, whatever. And Shotwell just does such a great job of being a simple plug your camera in, get all your photos off of it into a single repository that you could do simple manipulations and things within there. But essentially, it helps you organize all of your photos and information and allow you to, export them or import them into other maybe more advanced programs like Darktable and things. But it just works. And it's got a lot of simple editors in there. Very, very simple. This reminds me of, I can't think of Microsoft's version of their photo editor out there. I think it's called Windows Photo Manager, actually.
I was going to say, I think it's just called Photos now.
Yeah, but this is very much like that default photo software that you would get in most operating systems, although Shotwell takes it to the next level and adds a bunch of different things in there. And with plugins, you can make this a really powerful tool. Again, raw support and other things in there. But for me, this is just a great way to get my images and organized and create events and things like that based on them, like family picnic or whatever it is, and be able to organize your photos effectively with this tool.
I was going to say, I remember the Lightroom replacement. I forget the photo manager. No, I love Shotwell. It's a great application. I'm glad to see it finally got some love after a very, very long time with not getting updated.
Yeah. So this isn't a application per se, but this is a shot across your bow. And you're going to know why in a second. But droplets are something that once you learn Linux, right, and you become comfortable utilizing Linux, and in this case, because it's a server application, you're going to have to be comfortable with the terminal. But these droplets allow you to basically say goodbye to all of the domain hosts and all those things that, in my experience, in fact, the reason why I was like, I've been in Linux 2 years now, I can start my own services, because these hosting services just suck. They either overbill you, or their features don't work correctly, or they're constantly trying to upsell you. I mean, just constant barrage of, okay, if you want that feature, buy this for another $7.99 and another $8.99 and another $2.99. And there's just nothing there of value to me anymore in using a domain hosting. Now that I know Linux, I can go to DigitalOcean. I can drop a droplet in here, which is what they call, basically, it's a virtual server instance. I could do an auto install of WordPress through it, because now they have that feature where you create new droplet, install WordPress, and it does it all for you. So you don't even have to do anything. It creates the whole WordPress droplet for you, and have my WordPress site and just point a domain to it, and I'm good to go. Additionally, if you want to do, your own web, hosting or whatever, you could set up a LAMP server in seconds and be SSHing into it and setting it up. Now, you've been in Linux a lot longer than me, and you went with the standard host, which just shocks me. So tell our audience why.
Why did I go with a standard host? I'm getting to the point in my age where I just don't.
You're just too tired.
Okay, for people who want to know how I distro hop. Oh, something doesn't work. Next distro. That is legitimately how I distro hop now.
Well, listen, I implore you to, once you get sick of your host, which you will, to check out DigitalOcean and do a droplet there, because it honestly, if you enjoy learning, and I know you do, it's a really cool experience to kind of getting all the things set up within that droplet if you enjoy that stuff. So you talked about your favorite terminal. You mentioned Terminator and Guake as a great drop down. I'm a TileX fool, man. I love everything about this because, surprise, look at this. Tiling, right? Windows tiling. The window tiling capability within TileX makes it one of the greatest, in my opinion, terminal applications out there. If you're doing SSHing like we're talking in the servers, I have multiple droplets, so I can be in multiple droplets at the same time. You can change background images. As you can see, I've got that logo kind of hanging out in the back, transparent and things like that. You can change your text. You can have them different for each one you drop down. It's just a very, very versatile tool that I absolutely love. So have you tried this one yet?
I have not tried TileX. Like I said, I usually go with Terminator as my preferred, but I will definitely have to give it a try. The whole GNOME 3 attachment thing, I tend to...
Well, Terminator is my other favorite. I have it up here as well, and I'll use it sometimes for things. But Terminator was my favorite. TileX is my favorite now. So it's kind of
what I will say is, once you've used a tiling, well, really anything, but especially on a terminal emulator, once you go to a tiling thing and you are having to do multiple different things at a glance to see what it is, you don't have to bounce through a bunch of tabs to find out.
Right. Absolutely. And those will become more important as you become more advanced in Linux. Probably on the offset, I would just say just use the default console, whatever it is, for you to whatever comes with your distro, because you're not going to see a whole lot of advantages in these if you're a brand new user and having multiple sessions open, although eventually you'll realize why it would have been an advantage, but it'd probably be too confusing at first anyways. PittHost is my next one. This is a native Pandora client. I use Pandora as a streaming service. You could utilize, of course, the suggestion Dark One gave with Lollipop, and that has things like Spotify integration and other things if you have a premium account. PittHost, you don't have to have a premium Pandora account, but it also supports the premium Pandora accounts. And this allows you, of course, is a nice streaming service. It also creates, depending on your desktop environment, but most of them in the Ubuntu world, it will create a nice little player in the notification area where you can pause and all of that type of stuff, so you can do controls very easily, really well integrated into the desktop. And just absolutely love this because I'm a Pandora fan and it works extraordinarily well. So if you're into Pandora and are coming over to Linux, we talked about LibreOffice. This was the other choice that most distros come with pre-installed because it's open source. It has fantastic compatibility if you're coming from Office, Microsoft Office products or whatnot. This is a great one. There are at times issues depending on what you're doing with the translation between Microsoft Word and Excel and LibreOffice. Although I'd say 9 times out of 10, it works fine. WPS will probably be better for that. Again, if you're in a situation where you can't have a mistake, just use Office 365.
What I'll say is I prefer LibreOffice for most generic end users because, let's be honest, a lot of the features in a lot of the more professional stuff you're not gonna use,
right?
So to me, I mean, even a lot of the stuff in LibreOffice is overkill. But if you need to make a spreadsheet, if you need to make something or have an Office suite as a home user, LibreOffice is like hands down, no duh, you get it.
Yep. Yeah, and I want to make sure it's clear too that all of these we talked about are complete suites. So you get the word processor, you get the calculator, which is in their version of Excel spreadsheets, which the formulas in Excel work in Calc as well. You get Impress, which is their version of PowerPoint, so you can do presentations. You get Draw for vector. You get database like Access, and math formula editing in there, so you can do advanced homework or those type of things within this as well. And it's free, by the way. No license, no yearly costs, although there's this nice donate button that you should definitely consider hitting if you're using. Sublime Text is one of my favorite tools. And I started out with things like Atom, which I love Atom, and I still install it as default. But Sublime Text to me is just one of my favorite tools to edit anything in. All of the GitHub scripts that I do, anytime I'm messing with the file manager, and this is due to Eric for Arco Linux. He got me addicted to this platform, and it's just so awesome.
Nice. I figured you'd be more kind of a brackets guy, but
I had started in brackets. Brackets is owned by Adobe, and brackets is cool for web editing. I like using it for web editing, but everything now has, to me, gone to Sublime or Atom between the two. I guess it just depends on my mood. Lutris open gaming platform.
Good choice.
This one is just a necessity if you have programs outside of Steam, games outside of Steam. For instance, if you use like GOG or other things, if you use free open source Linux games, and also your Steam games all get integrated into a single manager, and Wine games as well, where you can just log in and have all your games and even launch them from this tool. I think this is a fairly new tool, but the folks that created it are freaking geniuses, man.
Oh yeah, like these all-in-one launchers are great. Like I wish. Now, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm taking the Rocco approach here. Sorry, Rocco. That one pixel off kind of thing.
So the interface bugs you a little bit at times?
A little kludgy on the side, but nothing, little like the text and stuff is just a little off. But
so if you've got Humble Bundles, GOG games, all of that, joystick configuration mappings, all of that stuff is put into this, and they're continuing to enhance this more and more and more with every version. I just love Lutris, man. It's just a must-have.
Dude, the amount of work they've put into that is just crazy, and it's so awesome to see, though.
Yep. And then finally, I'm going to leave off with, if you're a new user, KDE Connect, there really is no other alternative to it. I mean, there's not in the Linux world that I can think of yet that I've come across that basically allows you to have a complete interface with your Android device on your desktop. So you'll see messages and things pop up from your phone in your notification area. You can, of course, utilize it to move files between your computer and your phone or vice versa. It's just an all-around fantastic tool, and they are adding iOS support, I hear, to it as well. And this is going to be a big deal, having your phone being able to interface. Mac kind of did it first. macOS did this first with their platforms, allowing that full integration between the iPhone and macOS. And Linux kind of really has done it next with this KDE Connect here, allowing that interface with Android. Would love to see the iOS features in there as well. But what do you think of this tool?
I love KDE Connect. Like, this puts in so many things that, like, one push bullet used to be the thing. Get text, get text on your computer or respond to text from your computer. Like that was the thing for a while. Yep. KDE Connect does that. It solves that problem. There goes that monthly bill. Don't get me wrong, I contribute money to open source projects, but there are just something, I believe it was using it as like a mouse, and there's like just so many features and functions, sending files and there's just so much you can do with KDE Connect. Yep. It is crazy, and the amount of work they have put into this to make it work and work as well as it does is astounding to me. And the fact that it's open source, you're not relying on company A, B, or C. In this case, you're not relying on Google or Microsoft with Continuum or dead Continuum now, but or Apple with was it Pass Off or whatever their version of it is.
Yep. So that is a fantastic program to check out. I also want to give a shout out to Alternative 2. This was a huge help for me when I was starting to come into the Linux world. I had to find alternatives to some of the programs, although funny enough, most of them have ended up being in Linux now. So you may not have as much of a problem here. But for instance, if you type in Microsoft Office or any program that you use on a different platform, this will give you alternatives and ratings for those alternatives. You can see a lot of the things we recommended here are also included here as well. And you can just look for that little Linux tag and know that you'll be off and running with Linux. So this is a really powerful site that if you are stuck and you have a certain program that you need, or you need something like it, Alternative 2 is one of the best sites, I think, out there for that type of stuff.
Easily.
All right, so that's it. We've given you over 22, I think, items here of applications that, for the most part, are all free or have a free variation. I would say 99% of them that we just went through are free, completely open source. But if they are free, don't think that means you never have to do anything with it. You should still donate whatever you can to that project, especially if you're using it to make money.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally.
So really good picks, man. It's always a blast having you on the show. Any last words for the DasGeek prodigies out there?
I thought it was i3 prodigies.
Oh. How dare you? You're right. Yeah. Any last words for the i3 prodigies out there?
Just remember that just because it's open source doesn't mean you don't have to pay for it.
Nah, I like that.
That is my biggest thing.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's a big thing we want to get out through the community. But moving to Linux is easier than ever. There are so many great programs as we've shown. And by the way, we've shown you the ones we use. There are dozens more in every single category we covered that could fit your needs. So just because these are the ones we picked does not mean you're going to get into them and like them. You may like something else. Alternative 2 would be a great place, as well as forums and other things, to get more information on other programs like that. I think this was an awesome video to do, and I hope it helps some of those who are transitioning or thinking about transitioning to Linux out there make that switch easily. Dark One, it is always awesome to have you on. You are the master troll. Actually, I think that goes to Martin Wimpress now. Of Mate, since he did put me in his
think I was going to say I have been demoted.
Well, I know you'll make a comeback.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can overcome the fact that you have been in the release notes for an LTS.
That was pretty awesome. For those who don't know, Martin Wimpress of Mate, he was on Destination Linux the last episode. It was a fantastic episode. We had a kind of a running joke because at one point I was talking to him before the episode about window tiling. Funny enough. And he was like, hey, it's in the manual. But he was really nice about it. He was super nice. He was like, here are the key commands, but it's also in the manual, blah, blah, blah. So we kind of turned into a joke of RTFM. And then he put in his release notes for one of the most important releases in Ubuntu in a long time. Hey, you should read this, unlike DasGeek, who doesn't read this stuff. But he linked to my channel. So in a way, it was a shout out as well. So I love that guy. It was a lot of fun. So go check that out. Definitely check out Dark One's channel. He is on YouTube. If you're a subscriber to me, you should be a subscriber to him as well. I also have just launched Patreons. So Patreon is available if you want to help support this channel, the technology and things that we review. You can become a patron of the channel and get some perks, including a super secret Telegram group. So there you go. And some other perks out there as well, and help support the channel. So definitely go check out Dark One if you're interested in supporting the channel. Check out the new Patreon page. And until next time, what am I going to say here? What do you think?
Fill your brains?
There you go, man. Fill your brains.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't watch the video.